Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the motherfucking MundaneMatt Show. Today is the 28th of August, 2018. And man, you know what? I want a slow day, goddammit. I want a slow day. I just want a day where not a lot goes on. You know, I can cover my stories. I can hang out with my kid. I can have good times. But no, the world doesn't work that way. The world is always trying to find interesting ways to tell you fucked up shit. And this, of course, today, Jesus, is no damn different. It's no damn different. First things first, there were some accusations made against me last night in regards to some persons having their accounts taken down. False. Fake news. Wasn't me. End of story. Moving on. I'm not going to address it again. But there's also the return of somebody else, too. The return, and this is the first story today. This is the first one today here because a lot of people out there really mad. Twitter, like SJW feminist Twitter, is fucking livid. They are upset. They are just, oh my God, they're so on me. Oh, they're just so angry because Louis C.K. returned to stand up 9 months after sexual misconduct allegations. Now, here's the thing to remember. My opinion of it is simply this. I think they are mad at Louis C.K. simply because Asia Argento was discovered last week to basically be a gigantic hypocrite. And let's be fair, a lot of people out there have moments where they are hypocritical. I think that's just a fallacy of being human. In this particular case, though, she paid out $380,000 to silence an underage boy with whom she's had sex. Okay, so she groomed into having sex. So it's not like it's the same. Not like it's the same thing as your general garden variety hypocrisy. But anyway, the lesson here, folks. Don't be a hypocrite. If you are one and mistakes happen, do what you can to make sure they never happen again. But anyway, Louis C.K. coming out a week later. I think he saw that direction, the Me Too direction was going, right? There was the shots fired and they kind of ducked their heads down. He's like, this is my chance. This is my chance. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make the run. I'm going to do it. And it just went different directions, I think, depending on what's going on or who you listen to. Now it says here, embattled comedian Louis C.K. performed an unscheduled stand-up set at New York's Comedy Cellar on Sunday. Louis C.K. performed for 15 minutes, but did not address the sexual misconduct scandal he had faced. Because why would he? Not every time you go out in public or every time you do something do you have to continuously address something, right? I think that's something people out there do need to remember. Just saying. Now, in November, 5 women came forward with alleged allegations of sexual harassment and abuse against the comedian. Now, he acknowledged the accusations were true and apologized. So here's the thing with that, though, is 5 women came forward with allegations of sexual harassment and abuse. Now, I would argue definitely sexual harassment. But maybe this is where it gets a bit complicated. Now, here's what he says. And then, of course, well, okay, here basically what they said was like 2 women in Denver were all, you know, he was drunk, went back to his hotel room and he was like, do you mind if I masturbate? And he was sitting in a chair. They were sitting on a couch. They didn't say no. So he's like, okay. So he pulled out, cranked it out, made a map of Hawaii on his stomach. And then they laughed the whole time. They watched him do it. And then they left. And then they were all like, oh, he sexually harassed us. He asked your permission if he could masturbate in front of you. I'm not saying it's right. I'm simply pointing out the fact here that that was the thing. You know what I mean? Like that was the thing. And then other women, like he'd asked to masturbate in front of like a PA or something or an assistant on one of the shows. He has a thing with masturbating in front of women. Okay. Like there's services for that, Louis. There's services for that. But apparently he always asked permission, with the exception of one story where one woman came forward to say that he was masturbating while he was on the phone with her. And that if he didn't ask that, then I understand completely why she's upset. Anyway, he says here, the stories are true. At the time, I said to myself, what I did was okay because I never showed any woman my dick without asking first, which is also true. But what I learned later in life, too late, is that when you have power over another person, asking them to look at your dick isn't a question. It's a predicament for them. The power I had over these women is that they admired me, and I wielded that power irresponsibly. Now, that is a statement I actually agree with. And I do agree with that. And predominantly the reason for that is Because yes, when you're in that kind of position where you are a star, Louis C.K. was a star. He had a show. He had very popular comedian. People look up to him, and then they kind of look the other way on certain things. But I also want to put it back on the person here and say, I don't really think anyone here who accepted looking at his penis is much of a victim, because at no point in time could you not get up and walk out of the room. Like if I was with Louis C.K. and he was like, hey, can I pull up my dick? I'd be like, no. And I don't want to see if the carpet matches the drapes. I don't want to see, anything else that could happen as a result of this. And I'm going to leave, that kind of thing. I feel like that's how people should kind of approach these situations ultimately. Now, Louis C.K. Did go on to say that he's remorseful and he tried to learn from his irresponsible behavior. FX cut ties with him shortly after, and he was his executive producer on many, many, many shows. And CNN reached out to his representatives for comment, but of course, there's really not much there. The thing is, he just showed up. He did a 15-minute set, and people are furious at this. They are so upset. They're triggered beyond belief as a result of this. They're just frothing at the mouth as a result of Louis C.K. going up there and giving a set. But when you think about it like this, though, it's been 9 months. All right, at what point in time can you come back? This is the thing I don't like about people going away in these situations, right? Because oftentimes it's just that push, go away, take a break, leave. And you're like, but no, I don't want to. Right? You don't want to. Like, if you say you're sorry and you realize mistakes have been made, then why leave? Right? And what it is it's just, if anything, you are just walking away so people forget about you. So then when you come back, it's not as big, it's not as bad, it's not as bold, it's not as crazy. And I'm sorry, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. You can't do that. I certainly don't do that. When mistakes have been made, I've made my statements, I have said my sorries, and I'm back to work. Because that's how it has to be. People out there don't like that, but that's on them. And I think that's a lot of what's happening. People want to shut down Louis C.K. They want to shut down Louis C.K. because they're mad at him for what he acknowledged that he did and everything else. And then the response back is, well, why didn't you? And I've seen this too. I've seen lots of comments about this. I've seen, why didn't, did he go to therapy? Did he go do all of these things? We have no idea. We have no idea. Like, I've admitted I'm in therapy, right? For dealing with my own issues, and that's perfectly fine. I think we should do more to talk about breaking down the stigmatization around mental health and getting help, right? But we have we look at these situations as being so predominantly terrible, I guess, the way that they're generally kind of treated. And this, don't get me wrong, like, masturbating in front of people is like, that's it's not a good look, to be fair. But I think the way it boils down to here, at least from my perspective, is like, no, he took time off. He came back. That's going to be that. His fans are going to clearly welcome him back. Anyone who doesn't like him, they're going to keep this going for a while, because we'd rather shame and shun and push out and destroy than acknowledge that somebody's made a mistake, and then go on from there. Because here's the reason why. Here's the thing. He came out. He said he was sorry. He went away for 9 months. He came back, and it's still not enough for certain people. Now, the question I asked to you before we move on to the next story here, is it ever actually going to be enough? Is there anything that he could say that would ever make it enough? And that is something I want you to actually think about before responding. Is there anything he could say or do that would ever make it enough? Right? And now, isn't the whole thing, don't apologize? Don't we hear that all the time too? Right? So it's kind of this conflicting thing. It goes to show you that there is something deeply wrong in our culture when people make mistakes. We want them gone. But when they try to come back, it's still never enough. So what of it, right? That's something, again, I want you guys just to ruminate on. And then, of course, post your thoughts. But this next story is, oh dear God. This next story, this is the thing. This is a real thing. And this frightens me to no end, given how technology is going. So David Hogg, you guys remember David Hogg, right? He's the activist from Parkland, Florida, recently graduated school senior, been very, 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 very anti-gun vocal in terms of activism and protests and whatnot. And the internet absolutely positively just fundamentally hates this guy. They hate this guy. So they meme on him. They meme on him a lot. This new one, though, this new one's a bit scary. I'm not going to lie. This new one is definitely a bit on the funny side, but it is a reality of where we find ourselves here. So anyway, this popped up on Twitter today. 4chan nerds are photoshopping David Hogg to look female and calling him Daisy, and then having sexual fantasies about their Daisy Hogg memes. I feel like this is some new uncharted form of self-own. Yeah, this is probably real. Now, this is Daisy Hogg. This is Daisy. I'm not going to lie. Daisy Hogg, not that bad looking, right? If Daisy was a trap, I'd be like, that's a passable trap. And good for Daisy. You done well. But it's like, this is the whole thing. This happened to like David Sherritt, who is he was Alternative Facts. Now I think he goes by Discord Spies on Twitter. He's very much calls out people on the alt-right, calls out anti-social justice warriors and whatnot. And he's got some feminine features. And so using this makeup app, they've been able to turn him into something else. They've been able to turn him into whatever. And it's really, really, really funny. So as a result of that, you've got this here from at the Pun 77 or Trump Train fan page, Daisy Hogg looking good. And then you've got Microchip here, which I believe is on a Gab profile. If you don't know Gab, it is very much a pro-free speech, I think more conservative-based Twitter, where the owner of Gab spends more time on Twitter than his actual website, which is kind of funny. But that being said here, Microchip says, how many people have masturbated to Daisy today? I bet a few hundred. I may try to crack the old rig to her as well. And again, not that bad looking. Just, I'm putting that out there. It's David Hogg would look good as a woman. There we go. I can admit that. So then you got this one here from 4chan saying, let's see your favorite Daisy Hogg memes, pictures, etc. XXX nudes wanted. Breaking news, Daisy Hogg finally comes forward. Hear her statement on the Second Amendment, gun rights, and slams her brother. And they link to a YouTube video that I just couldn't get to. I'm assuming it's deep fakes type stuff there. But this is Daisy Hogg. You got to love it there with the they photoshopped her face on that one image of an Israeli sniper. And then, of course, I think the other image on the bottom right there, or the bottom left, is actually Ashton Birdie. I think this Ashton Birdie wearing the MAGA hat. And that's who they put that on. So, I mean, either way, it's like Daisy Hogg. Angry Daisy is my favorite, though, to be honest with you. The one right there in the middle left. That's my favorite. But that's that's where we are. People on, I guarantee you there are people on 4chan that are legitimately fapping to this, that are legitimately fapping to Daisy Hogg. If deep fakes come out, and I assume with given the technology on deep fakes, that with deep fakes, they're going to come out and you're going to see like a whole bunch of Daisy Hogg porn. That's just going to, it's going to infect its way through the internet like a really bad case of HPV. And that being said, oh my God, I feel bad for David Hogg. I do hope that he is taking the memes in stride. Cause listen, I understand what it's like to be memed to hell and back. You got to lean into them. You gotta lean into them, because that's the only way. That's the only way to survive in this particular crazy, twisted world of ours. When it comes to people on the internet that are, dicks, I guess is the best way to describe it. So, speaking of dicks, this is a sad story. This isn't a good story. This one here is terrible, but I want to draw attention to it because, again, I have been talking a lot recently about bullying. On platforms, and I feel that the reason why I talk about it is because this is an issue, and people out there have been mad at me for talking about it, right? And just so you guys know, I just want to put this out there because apparently people who are new to the channel don't quite understand this. When I talk about some stuff and there's an anecdotal tale I can tell about me to kind of like give you guys an idea as to how I think or how I approach stuff, I add those in there. It's not that I'm making it about me, but I'm trying to make it better in terms of relatability with the audience. That's why this story also speaks out to me here, because a mom says a Denver boy killed himself after being bullied at school. Now, when I was in school, and I've talked about this before too, I had two groups of kids out to kick my ass every single day. There was the poke patrol, so people who'd run up and poke my stomach, and then there was the kick Matt's fat ass. And those two groups in elementary school, and I was bullied relentlessly for many years. I actually ended up going to a child therapist as a result of this. I have no problem talking about that, simply because it was a way for me to get through a part of my life that was very difficult. And I feel if the option was out there to more people and they knew about it as being an option, maybe we would be able to get some kids some help, because children are fucking mean. They're just mean. But let's see what the story here has to say. Now, a Denver mom wants to shine light on bullying and suicide after the death of her son last week. The woman said her son killed himself in their home Thursday. He was just 9 years old. 9 years old. That's like third grade, man. That's third grade. Right? Like third into fourth, like that transition year. Yeah. That's young. That's how young. Leah Pierce says bullying was a factor in the death of her son, Jamel Miles. He started fourth grade at Joel Schumacher Elementary School on Monday. Sorry, he was in fourth grade. But still so young. Fourth grade is when I got it really bad, and that's when I was in therapy. So I completely understand. It says here, and he looked so scared when he told me. He was like, "Mom, I'm gay." Oh, he came out to her over the summer. And I thought he was playing. So I looked back because I was driving, and he was all curled up and scared. And I said, "I still love you." Pierce said her son wanted to tell his classmates. He went to school and said he was going to tell people he's gay because he's proud of himself. Pierce said that when he came out, he opened up about wanting to dress more femininely. And he goes, "Can I be honest with you?" And I was like, "Sure." And he's like, "I know you buy me boy stuff because I'm a boy, but I'd rather dress like a girl." Now, some would argue, that's whether or not, like, you might have a difference of opinion in terms of like your home persona versus your IR, your in real life persona, in terms of like how a child should understand that, or how a child should be handled with that. Like, I couldn't tell you how to handle it. I have no idea. Like, I think if my daughter came to me and was like, "I want to dress like a boy," it's more acceptable because the whole tomboy aspect, and her mom's like that. And so it's like, there's that when, her mom was like that when she was younger. But if she was like, "I feel like a boy," like, I would probably want to take her to a counselor or a therapist just to like have her be able to express herself in a way that can be better interpreted, so we don't make the wrong choices. Because I do feel that in some of these cases, some of these transgender children cases or whatever, it's parents that put that on their kids. This is not really that particular case, but I've seen stories like that where it's very suspect. This one is, again, it's tragic. Should have never been allowed to fucking happen. It's again, mental health. It any age, you know what I mean? Like any age. This should just, like, if we're going to do anything for, like, for free in this country in terms of healthcare, man, mental health should be it. That should be top of the fucking pile at this point. Because if you have proper mental health, your physical health will definitely be elevated, Now it says here, on Thursday, 4 days in to the school year, Jamel took his own life. Pierce found her son dead in their Denver home. She said he killed himself after being bullied. 4 days is all it took at school. I can just imagine what they said to him. "My son told my oldest daughter the kids at school told him to kill himself, and I'm just sad he didn't come to me." A letter from the Denver Public Schools to families sent on Friday said it's providing extra social workers and crisis team for students. As weird as it sounds, those should be there all the time. They should be there all the damn time. They should just have that ability to go and talk. Right? It should, just to me, I feel like that should be so goddamn important. Right? Because when I was in school and I was getting bullied a lot, I was having, like, again, those thoughts and shit. And I went to a counselor about it, and they was like, "Well, kids are just going to be kids." Like, that kind of just like deflective, dismissive response is bullshit. It's bullshit. It's 100% bullshit. That is just, it's just kids are going to be kids. No, kids are cunts. Kids are cunts when they want to be. And when you get the mob rule, the mob mentality going into play on these, it's fucking terrible what it can do to kids, what it can do to people. And the truth of the matter is, it's got to stop. It's got to stop. There has to be a push. That dismissive nature of, kids bullying other kids is just part of the growing up experience. No, fuck you. Fuck you. It shouldn't be. People are going to tease you regardless. Don't get me wrong on that one. And there's a difference between like constructive and creative criticism and outright bullying and harassment. And it's not like the line is blurred in many of those cases. It's literally, you can pretty much cut that with a fucking knife in many cases. But when you got a 9-year-old kid that 4 days into the school year already insecure about their own sexuality, and making that decision at the age of 9, which, I mean, we could argue the mom, maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure. I would have instructed my kid to like not say anything and then to go and like express it in other ways as a way to like, you know, maybe figure things out a bit better. I don't know. I can only say what I would do. It's so fucking sad though. The mom says here, I'm so upset that he thought this was his option. In a statement, the district said it will continue to support the family. Through the devastation, Pierce wants to spread awareness about the effects of bullying, saying we should have accountability for bullying. I think that the child should, because the child knows it's wrong. The child wouldn't want someone to do it to them. And I think the parents should be held, because obviously the parents are either teaching them to be like that or they're treating them like that. She says she hopes that no parent ever has to go through this pain because their child is different from everybody else. The Denver Police Department is investigating the death as a suicide. And I'm not going to lie, I'm glad that there's no data on how it happened. I'm okay. I don't need to know how it happened. It just happened, and that's just the unfortunate side of things. That is just where, you know, this kid, 9 years old, bullied to commit suicide, you know? And people out there, they don't realize like your words have meaning. They have impact on people. They do, 100%. To say otherwise is bullshit. It's a lie. It's fake news. It's a fallacy, and you fucking know it. You know? And I think back to like situations where like I have criticized people, and I wonder if at any point in time if I've made them feel like this kid may have felt, you know, and it's a reflective thing that you don't really realize until you're older, right? Like I'm in my mid-30s, and you don't realize it until it's older. Until you're older, till you grow. And I just wonder what would happen if we taught kids at a younger age the impacts of this shit, and didn't just dismiss it as, oh, children are just, that's gonna be the children. What would happen? What would happen? There's a spiritual counselor that passed away a couple years ago. I actually liked the guy. His name was Dr. Wayne Dyer. Now, one quote that he has that I really like, and I actually truly believe this, was he says that if we taught kids at the age of 5 to meditate for like 5 minutes a day, it would have an amazing impact on the world. And I completely agree. If we could just like shut out the outside world, focus on ourselves, recenter our minds, recenter our I guess you could say like our core or our spirit or whatever, and just drown out the bullshit and just let it go, then it can I think can have a greater impact, because I can tell you firsthand, when it starts to eat at you and you let it eat at you because you're not taking proper mental care of yourself, when you get in these positions where it's not taking proper care, and you let it fester and rot and decompose and decay over time, you do stupid things. You lash out at people you love. You make poor decisions, and not chalking it up to an excuse, but more of like a symptom of a larger issue. And you've always got to treat, you know, like the cause. And I think the cause is something that's always that gets harder and harder to identify the longer you go. And everything else. And that's why I'm open about being in therapy, because I kind of hit that point a while back, actually. And I just kind of went like, why, you know, like, what's the problem with me? What's going on? And then, you know, I'm seeking out the help. And so again, not trying to make this about me. This is where my mind is at. This is my show. I share with you my thoughts and my opinions on these things and where I'm coming from. And my hopes of doing that, and I shouldn't have to always clarify this, but I feel like I have to. my point for doing that is to give you guys an idea into where my mind is at, my mindset, where how I think and how I emote. Because we maybe communicate in different ways, different wavelengths. They don't connect the right way. But if we have a better, greater understanding of people, maybe it will end a little bit better. It will and people have a better idea and understanding. And if that happens, then I think we're all ultimately better off as a result. The key is to listen more, and I'm trying to do that too myself. So anyway, I think on that note, I'm gonna bail out. I'm gonna end the show here today. I had one more story. I'll save it for tomorrow. It ties into some stuff I covered about a year ago, but I'll save it for tomorrow. And we'll definitely talk again pretty soon. Again, I really appreciate everyone listening. If you've made it this far, in the comment section, type in Louis, or just type in like Louis CK if you've made it that far to the end. I want to see who's made it this far. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.